scream, heavy in the streets.
We gon' get it, we gon' get it, we gon' get it. We gon' get it, we gon' get it. Get it in blood. Get it in blood. We gon' get it, we gon' get it, we gon' get it. We gon' get it, we gon' get it. Get it in blood. Get it in blood.
Good rich.
Get it out the mud.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And I'm Ethan, and this evening we have some appetizers for you. You could say a charcuterie board for your Super Bowl party, but honestly, no. We're not talking about football on this podcast. We're coming at you with the reaction show to UFC 284 that happened the other night, and to me, I don't know how you guys feel about the card, but I other than really the main event, I didn't think that it was going to be overall that great of a card. I don't know if I really said that on the podcast. I guess I said wasn't really. I didn't think the talent in the flyweight interim match between Yari Rodriguez and Josh Emmett. I thought the talent there in that weight class, that because of Alexander Volkov moving up to lightweight, was kind of lacking. But I don't know if I said that the overall card wasn't that exciting. But I guess when you kind of step back and look at it, it didn't really seem that great. But to me, I thought the card and the fights all went it was pretty exciting. So I don't know how you guys feel, how you all feel, but I thought it was a good card. There was some controversy in a couple fights, but let's get into the main card and see if we can break it down a little bit for you guys and see what we think and maybe what you guys think. If any of you guys have some input afterwards. So can I get a menu, and let's talk about this first fight on the main card. So the first fight was a light heavyweight bout between Jimmy Crute and versus Alonzo Menifield, and that ended up becoming a majority draw, which it was judged 29-27 and then 28-28. And the bout, I originally predicted Alonzo Menifield to get a knockout in the first round. And the reason I predicted that is because in Jimmy Crute's two previous fights, he had been knocked out, albeit that one of them was a doctor stoppage. So he must have had some swelling or a bad cut or had gotten shook up in between rounds or something like that. But I was just following trends and thinking maybe he was going to get knocked out in the first round again. And honestly, that came close to fruition, because in the first round, Jimmy Crute was really pushing hard for a takedown and wrestling and pushing Alonzo up against the fence. And Alonzo did a great job of defending Jimmy Crute's takedowns. Like, Jimmy Crute's kind of got him down on his butt a couple times, but Alonzo was able to wall walk and get back up pretty easily. And then kind of towards the end of the round, Jimmy Crute got caught by a couple strikes by Alonzo, and it looked like he was about to get knocked out towards the end of the round, and that kind of changed the whole complexion of the round, because it looked like Jimmy Crute was kind of on his way to winning the first round, and it just that round just got completely flipped on its head in that round. And I would say because of that, Alonzo Menifield won the first round. And then in the second round, it was a lot of the same. Towards the end of the round, Alonzo Menifield uh, hit Jimmy Cruz again, kind of towards the middle, towards the end of the round. He, I think he even knocked Jimmy Cruz down on one and knocked him back into the cage where he hit him, and the only thing that kept Jimmy Cruz up was bouncing his back off the cage. And then there was another point in the another point in the round where Alonzo Menifield like knocked Jimmy Cruz down, and really Alonzo probably shouldn't have went to the ground with him. He should have probably let the referee make Jimmy Cruz get back up instead of going to the ground. And I was screaming to myself or to the TV that when Alonzo went down to the ground with him, all that Jimmy Cruz was doing, he was just down there, just kind of covered up in the fetal position. I honestly thought if Alonzo Menifield would have started unloading on him, that he may have gotten the stoppage there, but he was just kind of pitter pattering him and not really trying. Didn't seem like he was really going for the finish. Maybe he didn't have the energy to really unload. But I thought if he really would have unloaded with some ground and pound in that second round when he knocked Cruz out, knocked him down, that he maybe could have gotten the finish in the second round. And then and then in the third round, when in between rounds and for the third round start, it looked like Jimmy Cruz was just completely out of it coming into that round. Looked like he had no energy. The look on his face, it looked like there was a good chance that maybe Alonzo Menifield may get the knockout starting that round. And so the round started, and Jimmy Cruz ended up having a little bit more energy than it looked like there was going to be with just the way the complexion that he had coming into the round. And he looked more like he did to start the first round. He was wrestling and trying to get the takedown, and he got to a point where he got Alonzo Menifield up against the cage, and it got to a point where he was about to get Alonzo down, and the referee called a fence grab. And honestly, there were points in the first round where Jimmy Cruz was wrestling and trying to take Alonzo down, where there were similar fence touches or bracings that I thought were similar, where I didn't really think he was grabbing. And I thought I didn't think that was really a fence grab there either. I thought he really just had his hand just bracing up. I didn't think he really grabbed it. Like he may have put his fingers in the cage, but didn't completely grab. It was more his hand bracing. I thought that was really a bad call, because the ref ended up stopping the fight and taking away a point. Like I must have not been hearing it. I guess I didn't hear all the warnings maybe before, but I thought that was a bad call by the referee. And then Jimmy Cruz finally did get the takedown and pretty much ended the fight on the ground and all that. And then it went to the scorecards, and it ended up being a draw, which if it wouldn't have been for the point deduction, Alonzo Menifield would have won. And at least I wouldn't have got the whole fight pick right, because I was picking a knockout in the first round, but I would have got the who I picked to win right. But I just don't think that was a good call by the ref, saying that was a blatant fence grab, because I thought he was more of just bracing his hand on the cage than just full out fence grab, because he was doing the same thing in the first round, the beginning of the first round. I thought he was doing a good job of just putting his hand on on the fence because I've seen in other fights, I've seen a lot more egregious fence grabs lead to just a stoppage in the fight and a warning, and then they give the other fighter the dominant position, like they would stop the fight and then put Alonzo Menifield on the ground to where they give Jimmy Cruz the ground control instead of taking a point away, which literally made the fight become a draw instead of giving the win to Alonzo, which I think he won the fight. He should have won the fight. But anyways, that's the first fight. Like I said, there was some controversy in this card. I guess really, I think really that was the only controversy on this card. Honestly, I think people were more fans of Alexander Volkov in the main event, so people want to scream controversy about saying one or the other fighters, either Islam Makhachev or Alexander. People that are fans of fighters always want to say their guy got robbed, but that was really the only controversy to me on this card. So, anyways, on to the second fight of this card was a heavyweight bout between Justin Tafa, who was he was a local. I'm trying to see here. So there was multiple fighters that were hometown favorites. Jimmy Cruz was from Australia in the first bout, and then Justin Tafa was a hometown boy as well. And I had picked. So this was about a heavyweight bout between Justin Tafa versus Parker Porter, and I had picked Parker Porter to win this bout by submission. And main reason I kind of just thought this was kind of a coin flip fight, and I think Parker Porter had twice as many fights in his career. Yeah, I think he had 20 fights on his career, and Tafa only had 8, 9 after this fight, and 20 after his fight for Parker Porter. So yeah, they both had Parker Porter had like twice as many fights. So I was just really going off of that. The more veteran, seasoned fighter, and he had more wins, more varied wins he had won fights by knockout, by submission, by decision. So I was just going by just picking the more seasoned fighter, and I was just saying maybe you win by submission, but that didn't happen at all. That didn't happen at all. He brought back kind of memories, kind of Mark Hunt, kind of with this knockout, just a kind of a walk off KO. And yeah, this fight didn't even last long enough to really have a description. These kind of guys kind of just lumbered around for about 1 minute and 6 seconds of the first round, and then Justin Tafa just kind of ducked out of the way, kind of parried out of the way, and caught Parker Porter with I guess it's a counter of a left-handed striker's punch, and just overhand right, and then he caught him with a little bit of a combo with a left hand follow up, and just knocked Parker Porter out cold. And yeah, and then he had a little dance at the end, and all the Australian fans went wild. So I was completely wrong on that one. But yeah, that was exciting. And my opinion with heavyweight fights and main cards, I think there should always be a heavyweight bout on a main card. People, at least in my opinion, people always want to see heavyweights fight because you never know that someone may get brutally knocked out in a heavyweight fight, and people like seeing the big guys. At least I do. There's always a chance for a brutal KO knockout, and that's exactly what happened in that bout. So on to the third bout was a welterweight bout between Jack Della Magdalena versus Randy Brown, and I think uh, Della Maddalena. Uh, I had picked him to win this just by knockout. I don't think I uh, really picked what round it would be in, but I definitely picked him to win by knockout, and he easily could have won by knockout because at 1 minute and at no in the first round, 2 minutes and 13 seconds in the first round, he landed a shot that just absolutely knocked Randy Brown. Like this was probably close to the most dominant bout, like mismatches of the night. Like Randy Brown just didn't look like he should have even been in this fight with Della Maddalena, and he dropped him with a punch, and uh, uh, Della Maddalena just jumped on his back and submitted him with a rear naked choke, and that fight just didn't last long at all. Like Randy Brown, I don't know if he didn't even touch Madalena at all in this fight. So that fight was not competitive at all, and that's kind of similar to how the co-main event played out as well. There was at least the co-main event lasted till to close to the going into the third round, but uh, so on to the co-main event was the interim featherweight bout between Yari Rodriguez versus uh, Josh Emmett. And I had picked this to just go to unanimous decision, and I, I guess I downplayed Yari Rodriguez's skills a little bit, but coming into this, I did mention that I thought Josh Emmett. I just didn't really give much respect to either one of these fighters in regards to thinking that they had really deserved a title fight or an interim title fight, and I mentioned that I kind of thought that Josh Emmett was a stepping stone gatekeeper, and he had even said that about himself, and that's definitely what he showed himself to be in this bout. Because I mean, he started the fight out in the first round looking kind of respectable, you know, and but he faded very quickly and showed after a couple body kicks, strong body kicks by Yari Rodriguez. That seemed to like drain all the energy out of him, and that carried over into the first round, and then towards the end of the second round, around that 3 minute mark. Yari Rodriguez landed this devastating flying knee that dropped Josh Emmett, and he pretty much uh, fell down right in off of that flying knee. He pretty much fell down right into a triangle choke. And Yari Rodriguez, similar to the Jack Della Mandolina versus Randy Brown matchup, this didn't that Josh Emmett just didn't seem like he was on the same level as Yari Rodriguez. And like I think the body kicks early on just drained him of all of his energy. And I've pointed out ages sometimes. I think it just took too long for Josh Emmett to finally get a title fight, and he'll be 38 in March. I think it just took too long. He's kind of moving out of his prime, but that was an exciting fight. Those two fights, the Jack Della Manolina versus Randy Brown, the way that fight finished, and that was exciting. And the Yari Rodriguez, Josh Emmett, that flying knee transitioned right into the triangle choke, like that was exciting. And same with the heavyweight KO. I'm trying to see here. So looking at the fighter bonuses. So the performance of the night, yeah, Rory Rodriguez and Jack Della Maddalena both won a performance of the night. Okay, so on to the the main event here. What everyone was waiting for, which I thought was a good headliner. You know, people nowadays never seem to be happy about anything, but I thought this was a good headliner. I was excited about this fight, uh, but this was a lightweight uh, championship bout between Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkov. So Alexander Volkov was leaving his championship belt behind in the featherweight division, allowing the Yari Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett bout to happen. So he was they were billing it as a champ versus champ bout, and I'll kind of break it down how I thought these rounds were won because it ended up going decision, and I guessed that right. I thought Alexander Volkov was going to win by decision, but Islam Makhachev ended winning by decision. So I got how the fight was going to be won, but I did not. Once again, I did not pick uh, who was going to win. So it seems like two cards in a row. I haven't had much success picking the right fighters. I haven't done too well in that regard, but at least I got how the fight was going. It was a competitive fight. I think some people thought maybe it should have been a draw or maybe it should have been at least a split decision. But I'll break. I think they got it right, in my opinion. And I thought all three rounds should have probably been 48-47, but the judges had it 48-47, 48-47, and then one of the judges actually had it 49-46, and that was a 5 round, of course, a 5 round championship bout. So I'll break it down to how I thought it went. And so in the first round, they came out and they looked pretty even for the most part. And then Islam Makhachev ended up getting on Alexander Volkov's back and pretty much ended the round on 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 Alexander Volkov's back. So I thought that probably stole the round. A lot of people seem to complain that if you just get someone's back and don't really cause much damage, or you don't put a fighter in danger of submitting them, then you really shouldn't get points for that. But yeah, he came close to getting him in a neck crank, or it looked like there towards the very end that he did kind of sink in the rear naked choke, but he didn't finish it. I think Alexander Volkov was putting up the thumbs up, and then he was kind of celebrating at the end of the round as if having your back taken and almost getting caught in a rear naked choke wasn't nothing. But in the judge's eyes, it obviously was something, and to me, it was. And then in the second round, Islam Makhachev actually dropped Alexander Volkov. So because of that, it was an even round. Other than that, but at one point, Islam Makhachev actually dropped Alexander Volkov. So I would give round two to Islam Makhachev. So that's 2-0 for Islam Makhachev. And then in the third round, I thought it was pretty close, pretty close. You know, I think that round could have really gone either way. There really wasn't much to like highlight. You could have maybe called it kind of a coin flip there, but I gave it to Alexander Volkov. And then in the fourth round was honestly very similar to the first round with Islam Makhachev getting some takedowns, and then pretty early, and a lot earlier, and then in the first round he got Alexander Volkov's back. But the difference between that and the first round is he never came close to getting a neck crank or a rear naked choke, and that was the difference between that round. So at that point, I would say that Islam Makhachev was up 3-1, and then in the fourth round, things kind of got flipped on their head, because then Alexander Volkov, they came out and Alexander Volkov actually landed a clean shot on Islam Makhachev in the stand up, and he knocked him down, and then he started wrestling him, and he started really getting some ground and pound, and it looked like he had Islam Makhachev shook, and he got his back a couple times and had him mounted, and it looked like Islam Makhachev, if anything else, was just kind of out of it. It looked really like the cardio of and the pace of Islam Makhachev was starting to wear on Islam Makhachev. And honestly, if there was a such thing as a 6 round fight, I think Alexander Volkov would probably have finished uh, Islam Makhachev. That round I would have definitely easily, out of all the rounds that you would score, that was probably the most dominant round of any of them. So that was the easiest round to give to one of these fighters, was the fifth round. The fifth round was easily, you'd have to be a blind man not to give the fifth round to Alexander Volkov. So that's how I had this fight scored. So I had it broke down that the first 2 rounds, round 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 4 went to Islam Makhachev, and then just 3 and 5 to Alexander Volkov. So you do the math, that's 40, 48, 47. So, I mean, and that's a decision win by Islam Makhachev. So, I mean, a lot of people, there's a lot of, I think more people that don't like that and really think that Alexander Volkov got robbed. I think they're probably more just fans of Alexander Volkov, or they wanted it to be at least a split decision, or think it would have should have uh, should have been a draw or something. But I mean, that's how I had it, and that's how I saw it. But overall, I thought this was an exciting and a really enjoyable card. But uh, if you guys have a different of opinions, hey, let me know, and maybe if unless you're a little too aggressive or something, I might respond. But uh, hey, get at me, and I hope you enjoyed it too. And so, anyways, I think that's all I have for you. So, can I get a check, please?